Good morning, everyone. All right, so today, I guess we're going to see if this market follows through on that power sell-off that occurred yesterday, which was, I guess, kind of surprising. It was for me. We got that short off on the Qs and the NQs of futures, and as it started to pick up speed to the downside, it was, well, surprising. It was like, oh, wow, like this is a gift. And as it sliced through some support, it's like, what is going on here as to, what's driving this market lower? And I'm not sure that there was a clear answer. The coronavirus or whatever else. It wasn't like, okay, here's the news item, there's something is going on and where the market sold off. But whatever it was, institutions were hitting the bids in unison there. So, and it's kind of, kind of surprising why I've kind of coined this market Mr. Schizophrenic, in that, from there, especially in the Russell 2000, went all the way back up to the high again, which is kind of crazy after such a power sell-off. So, you could see the move down on the spiders here, and, it was across the board as to the different markets, which we'll take a look at. As you can see on the hourly chart here, it broke down through this area that we call major support. And so, major support is on any time frame related to the trend within that time frame. So a break on the hourly doesn't necessarily mean that the daily is going to break down, and of course not the weekly, but the breakdown of anything begins in a smaller time frame. So we'll see what happens. And as we look at the spiders here, it's retraced about half, give or take, maybe a little bit less, and where we would think it's going to roll back over. Now, what continues to make this interesting is the look of a bottoming tail bar where prices retraced as far as they did after the breakdown. So yesterday's commentary was that if we were to get a close below this bar, that would point to lower prices down here. Now, even though things came back intraday, it still may be pointing to a move down here. We'll just have to see if this begins to roll over. And if it does, well, then obviously it's going to stop at this point, and buyers are going to try and hold it here and see if, now we can get into a trading range versus this breakdown. If they can't, well, then we look down to this level down here for prices, if buyers want to potentially hold once they gets down there. So again, it's a step-by-step process. If, on the other hand, right, there's always the other side of the scenario, prices can get back up here like they did in the Russell, well, then the depth of retracement of 100% says, hey, you know what, whatever happened here, buyers stepped all the way up and pushed it all the way back up to the high. If they can hold it there at that level, well, now we're just a crazy day for whatever reason, and thinking back up. So we're kind of got time frames out of sync here for the moment, which seems to be almost every day in this market, where things have been chopping back and forth here, gapping down and coming back, and gapping down and coming back. But this time we've got a gap up after a resting period, which didn't follow through. It had a minor topping tail and then the sell-off. So, news aside, it's kind of just continues to be kind of a weird pattern. So a bottoming tail like this would normally view it as just a flush, if it can get through here, which would then support higher prices, right? So if this, if that, we'll see which if actually plays out here as the morning progresses. Mike McEwen, YouTube, saying the feds will buy every dip. Well, maybe, but depends on how much money they, I suppose. I don't even know that they're buying the dip. They're providing liquidity there. So we'll just see. We'll see what this sets up as. Today's high-low levels inside day likely. Um, it could be, trader, to have an intraday uh, or inside bar in here because of the expanding range. It's certainly a possibility. Like I said, if it rolls over here, um, buyers are going to step up at this low, right? That's a given. Then we'll just see, if they can hold it here, and then does it rally, and then yeah, it could be an inside day for sure. What we do every day is just look at what is and say, is the trend still up in this time frame? Yes. Is the trend still up in the weekly? Yes. Is the trend still up in the hourly? No. So it has been, and so here was this resting period that we spoke about at the time. And what I said was, well, all this choppy stuff going on here, even though the markets were gapping up that morning, I said, because of the resting period, it should continue to go higher. And it did. And yesterday, well, this is just a new day in this market, and whatever shook in the institutions up, and I said they all started hitting the bid at the same time and drove it down to the level that we marked off and had marked off, right? You say, look to the left, right? No fib lines, no trend lines, no squiggly lines. You just look to the left and see where buyers stepped up before. And they stepped up there again. And now we'll see what they want to do today, right? YM. And this was, this was holding up the best, right? Before the selling started. And then it just, got in lockstep with everything else, wherever the buyers were doing, they start seeing the S&P selling off. They see they see the Q selling off, and just, traders start to think, hey, what the hell's going on here? We were ready for this thing to launch. Let's just get out of town until the smoke clears and see what happens. And once prices got down to support, well, they rallied it all the way back up to the high. And so we'll see if they can hold it up here. With this pattern, it's still a lot of tails, a lot of overlapping bars. But this chart in of itself going sideways at this level with a bottoming tail bar suggests that if it takes out this high, it's going up here. But that's not what the spiders and Qs are saying. And as you can see, things are down here this morning. We'll get to the futures. So this is another, potential reason, even though things are down here, this kind of reversal, and it's a big bar. Yeah, it could be an inside day. Absolutely. So we shall see. The transports, the fly in the ointment of the bullish case of this breakout failure that held support, and then the retracement, and the last couple of days showing some strength. Some of the rails doing well. Federal Express coming back and looking interesting. So maybe we're just in for more chop here to see, I don't know, whatever's going on, for things to be digested here. And so we'll just have to see, another day of where things go. An intraday, as we always do, we'll find opportunities. So futures, right? Not a big deal, but they're down. Right? They're down a little bit, and kind of hanging around here. As you see the nasty move that happened, and the retracement up to about where sellers would show up, and now buyers at a higher low, chopping around here, and we'll just see which way they're going to go here at the open. So looking at this smaller time frame, here's the, you can see the bottoming tail as my cursor moves on the hourly chart, and as it comes up to resistance, so it was acting pretty well by going sideways here, and the red bar is ignored and the topping tail not following through. And then as it pokes up a little bit above the highs, another resting period, the sellers show up again. So the bullish price action that was going on initially begins to fail. And the question is, well, if they can hold it here and, and get it back up there, or is that upside shakeout where it breaks here and then, heads back down. So not the kind of pattern that jumps out at me anyway, that says this is a great opportunity to go long or short. Not yet. NASDAQ, here's the beginning of an inside day. It's chopping around. This was a grinder, a little grinding move, and it breaks out and so forth, just to pull back to support. But the ideal scenario, and typically the way it does play out, is resting periods within uptrends, can start momentum moves. Whereas after it moved down like this, there's still a lot of uncertainty as to, this market's ability to go back up. And, big red bar, we've seen big red bars before, but this was on a retest pattern, whereas this is a new high failure and reversal. So we shall see. I'm just checking any comments. And algo rates currency. Who knows, McGraw? It could be algos and what's going on, but the point, I think, is, look, algos trade like, what we used to call in the day SOS bandits, guys that were trying to, grab teenies. You don't know what a teeny was, that was back in the day where things traded in fractions versus decimals, and they would trade hundreds of times a day. And so algos are like that on steroids, getting in and out thousands of times. But at this point yesterday, this was, many institutions hitting the bid and waiting to see if it would stop at the next level. And then when it did, some buying came in. So, we'll just see. The trend is still up. There's been a shake of some confidence and some uncertainty brought in here, and we'll see if it can hold this level for maybe a couple of days. And if it does, I think the buyers will show back up and say, hey, the scare is over. Let's get back in. Let's see if we get it up to 10,000, these futures. If, on the other hand, it's closing down here by the end of today, well, then we look for more downside to whatever level buyers want to step up again. It was the weaker, we've been discussing that. And then, the reversal to the downside is closer to support. So I suspect that unless things really were to get out of hand on the sell side, I think that this level here would hold today, even if it breaks yesterday's low. So we'll be watching that level there. Right. And okay, we'll get to SPX since it's Friday. And there's the Russell. What a mess. What a mess. Breakout, breakdown through major support, moving to the next level, rally back up. And as sloppy as that is, it has to be viewed as bullish price action, because while it's sloppy and tails, it's going sideways at resistance. It just can't get it going yet to the upside. And maybe it will, maybe it won't. And, we'll see. Yes, yesterday's high and yesterday's low will be the reference points. Can you get above there or below there? And, maybe it's just, what was mentioned before, an inside day. Absolutely. Looking at these different charts, it definitely could be what's in the cards here. Oil down a little bit, hit some resistance, right? Look to the left. Why? And there you go. Hitting some resistance there. And we'll see how far it pulls back or not. Of course, bonds are now up as the market is down. Right? They've pushed above the high. They're coming up into resistance here, but they've had this consolidation for a while, which is supportive that it can get through here. So when we do look to the left, right, the next question, we see something there. Is that going to be a stopping point? Well, we really never know what's going to happen over here on the right side of the chart. The analysis gives us some guidance as to probabilities. That's all we do as technical traders, as we look at charts, trends, support, resistance, and say, what's the probability of this going up or down? or staying sideways. So its ability to hold here, depth of retracement to this pivot high, and sideways price action is supportive of thinking that it can get through that level. Now we'll just see. You go to a smaller time frame and, does it break a prior bar's low? So on and so forth, what we do. Well, you see a little stall in the momentum here, which doesn't really mean a whole heck of a lot. But it could be something to keep an eye on as far as this intermarket inverse relationship to say, well, if these bonds, for whatever reason, started to pull back intraday, well, maybe, the S&Ps would perk a bit up to the upside there. So there's a thought. Gold, wow, right? Really picking up some steam here to the upside. So we, where's the next reference point? Month ago, just going further out there just to see, and there's really nothing, right? And so there's the concept of bullish price action and creating support. And what we talked about during this time after the move up, where things got all choppy, and then eventually resolved itself. Excuse me. So nothing to stop this from going higher, but as prices move up on smaller time frames and we see range expansions, the probability of at least a stall in the momentum increases. Silver, right, gotten through this level, and it's got the next level there. So when we decide to trade markets that are somewhat connected or stocks that are in, say, the same sector, and we start deciding as which one we want to trade, well, the ones with the void, right, lack of reference points to the left that are relatively close by, well, those are the ones that are going to underperform. But eventually this should get through there and, what we call playing catch up. So if it consolidates here, silver then may play catch up and begin to outperform gold. Cisco, been all over the place. Here it looked like it was gonna, take off like a rocket. Fell all the way back, even here where it was consolidating, and then it fell and came back and back down again. So now it's back down to major support, and there's some buyers here. So, kind of crazy. If it shows some strength today, this, I doubt it. And Dan, you can take a look, but I was thinking if this could show some strength today, wouldn't it be wonderful for a 0 day to expiration put spread on something like this? But something we'll get to. SPX, and I'll turn it over to Dan. It's getting late here. Again, if it's an inside day, what levels did you say? 33.15. Well, I'd be surprised if there was any premium down there today. If there is, I think that would be pretty darn good to sell, 15 and something below it. And the upside, I guess, above 3,400. Yeah, you got 33.95. But let's see how it shapes up here as the market opens. If it starts perking to the upside, well, maybe closer, maybe somewhere down here would be worth a look. We'll take a look. All right. All yours, Dan.
All right. Thanks. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, those levels that Greg just said look fantastic. So we will be looking at that, and 0 DTE day, both for anything that has a weekly expiration. Got to make sure they're liquid, of course. I have space that we did have a short strangle on the other day that we closed at a small profit yesterday, but now with the gap down rolling over, this might be a fantastic 0 DTE call spread. All our opens are fine. I noticed DPZ was one we were looking at yesterday. We wanted to do a 400 call spread yesterday, but the premiums were just, the spreads were just asinine. But this could set up as a nice little day trade short, starting to roll here on the 15. Let's look at gappers now. BXC, look at that. That was a very bullish bar yesterday. Wide range igniting out of consolidation. Obviously, it's news. I don't know what the news was that drove it up and back down, but look at this 15-minute chart now. Every single person who is long in here and still holding is just got smacked in the face. This Sedgar, I didn't follow it as an IPO, but saw it in the gap list today. 51.70. I have it in my upper right screen here, my 5-minute window. This could be a gap and crap day trade. It's the all-time highs. Let me just see if it's optionable. Sedgar, nope, no options. Zulu Sierra, gap down to 56 bucks. That's a very bearish gap here. We'll keep that on our short watch list. If it cannot bounce much, then maybe 30-minute low, and it has a price void below. I think can fall another $5 from here. OLED 169, a bearish gap, but I don't know, it's getting extended. True, gapping down $1.10 on a little stock. That's quite a beating, and a nasty downtrend on the monthly. Yeah, true. That's that little car, the car sharing rental pool thing. SBAC. Wow, what a nice breakout back here. Oh, I think we yeah, we had this on our list because all the similar stocks were moving here at the same time. ROG 104. It's an ugly gap and an ugly downtrend daily, weekly. Dropbox up a big number. This at 2180. It's gapping too big, but this to me looks like a long-term bottom now. You know, you had a bullish new low divergence here. Then you had a retest which held. You got the 20 MA. It's just gapping too big is the problem, but maybe it sets up in a week or so. Lithium gapping under 10 bucks. That's a bearish gap. 608. 30-minute high. This isn't bad. You got a price void here, so that's worth watching. Look at space here, making new lows. Yeah, I like this one for a call spread today. We will be watching. Deere earnings up huge, 178. Gap into the top of the range. That's a bullish gap, but if I were long that, I would surely be thinking sell into strength. 1250. It's a bearish gap here, but the support. Nuva, no volume, no pattern. Get rid of you. EHTH must be a bio. This could also be a gap and crap. I mean, it's a bio, but an out of the money call spread is an idea, not a bio. I don't know what it is, but yeah, that's on my short watch list. Software. All right, yeah, let's watch it. I have space in my other computer, so let's put that one here. EBS. There's no volume, I can't tell. Boeing, Nick. Yeah, we had a put spread yesterday that stopped out. And remember in the morning, when it made this breakout failure, we were talking about we were up 15 cents. So, you know, woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's kind of reverse head and shoulders here, left shoulder, head, right shoulder. It was, yeah, it's up 90.50. All right, so this one looks good too. I'm gonna put that in a window. BMRN looks great on the long side. That's a tier 1. That looks great. So I have a number of tier 1s today, long and short. 23 bucks, big gap, nothing to do with that. Yeah, I like it. I mean, there's sloppy bars, but I like the way it's holding it for the gap up. And I like the weekly and monthly target, whatever, 65 to 68. Synex I mentioned is a long watch. Oh, I left off here, Berman. All right, so Vici. Looks like it's gapping up to 28, but we'll come back to it. Cube. Can't tell where you're gapping. Fizzler getting whacked here today, 53 bucks. It was 50 when it opened. So if this can hold and get its sea legs back, this will be another 0 DTE candidate on the put side. Akamai for Ahmad. Hey Ahmad, your drop down. I don't know what to do with Akamai here. Boom, gapping down 37. That's a bearish gap and a bearish downtrend. COG 1485. That's a mess. You're gone. Texas Roadhouse 70. Oh, there's another big gap. That's you know, this is strength. And it looks like some people were buying into earnings. You think there might have been some inside information? So that's a gap and crap setup again. $9.58. The gap's too big for me. Hassie, gap into 40 bucks. I'd be selling strength. Nothing to do with that. FMB. This is a nice breakout. It cleared all these tails, so it was resting in the upper third of this bar. And then you got 1, 2, 3, 4 bars of resting over the tails. That becomes support. Yeah, KDP. Yeah, I actually took a not a screenshot. I just did a little chart lesson and put it in our Facebook group on this. It's a bullish reverse head and shoulders. I love the moving average convergence there. So definitely that's on my long watch. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff to watch here today. Boeing here making a new low. I see. That's one of my permanent little thumbnails for now. This is a mess. You're gone. Casa. It's a mess. 2244. You're a mess. Builder. 2660. Gap in here. So this is, you got, oh, look, they're hitting the bids at the open. Wow. Wow. Look at that drop. All right, so you're gone. Boyd is just a strong churning uptrend. Gap into all-time highs, but I don't like the way it trades. Chewy, this is Greg's dog. Big gap, nothing to do with it. Lithium, bearish gap, low we were watching yesterday. But it has earnings next week, down $1. And this one, okay, so now I'm done. These are now yesterday's watches, and I wanted to keep this one on my list. Nice. That's a pro gap or bullish gap. Very, very bullish gap and day yesterday. I was hoping for it to rest. All right, here's our KDP. You might not get a pullback. It is this. Let's watch a 5-minute high.